everyone, my name is Lana. You're at my channel Tarot Coaching, and Tarot makes our life better. In today's video, we will look at if Putin himself is responsible for a big military defeat which happened at the beginning of May in a very strategically important river in Ukraine, where the Russian army had lost a lot of lives and a lot of techniques. But before we proceed into that question and see if Putin is making decisions at very low level, just as a colonel, please subscribe. If you want to order a reading with me, Tarot Coaching, go to my webpage and order an hour, or take a contact directly with me. I will set it for you. tarotcoaching.org is my webpage. So let's talk about the context of the question. We need to verify our information, and we need to find out today if Putin himself is trying to command the troops. 2 days ago, The Guardian, one of the biggest and most influential newspaper in Britain, published an article. They write that in accordance with their sources, which are very close to General Gerasimov, the head of the Russian military troops, is the sources given information that Putin himself had been commanding over the troops who tried to force the river Severskyi Donets, nearly the little village Belogorivka, which are now under Ukraine, and Russians still not succeed to come over that river, or not taken over to occupy. They didn't succeed to occupy that little village. In accordance with some Ukrainian sources, or official Ukrainian sources, Russians tried to cross the river 9 times. And 9 times they failed. That is great military art, I guess. Just stay on and lose your soldiers. In accordance to Ukrainian sources, Russian army has lost about 1,500 soldiers. In according to Reuters, for example, it's more than 400. On a satellite pictures, images, we can see that at least 70-80 tanks and other techniques are also lost. So it's one of the biggest military defeat in the history of the modern wars, which we know. And the question if it's Putin who is personally responsible for this defeat is an interesting question. Yesterday, Russian-speaking Ukrainian blogger Ivan Yakovina has released a video, analytical video, where he talked about the actual head of this operation. He tells that one who was responsible, or pretended to be responsible, was a General Stepanishev. And Yakovina, with his reference to The Guardian, means that Stepanishev is an avatar of Putin, that it's because of Putin's orders the General Stepanishev was insisting on the crossing that river, and tried time after time after time, even though the Ukrainian artillery worked very hard and been shooting and etiquette, and it was not possible and very badly thought through plan. So, how we will look at it, how they will look at the situation through tarot. We will make a spread which calls the mask. Regularly, I use this spread to look at the relations, how one person is related to another. But today we will see who is actually under the mask, who is behind the others. And we will look at the level of power reflected in the spread. And we will look at the level of decisions and other things, who is actual person, and we'll see if it's actually that general or Putin in person. I'm very curious about it. Also, in addition, we will make a little spread and look on the Guardian article. Actually, I will give the link in the description to that article, so you could go and read it yourself. And on the video which I talked about, video by Ivan Yakovina. If you speak Russian, I guess maybe he also has English subtitles. Let's look. I'm using today my Art Nouveau deck, my traveling deck. It's a little bit smaller, so I will put more pictures so you could see it closer. And the first position which we have here is a 9 of Cups. That card is symbolizing the person behind of the spread of the question, who is the actual person who was doing it. 9 of Cups, as we do know, is a very hedonistic card, and it's about someone who really definitely not a military officer. We know that Putin used to be a KGB officer. We do know that he now likes to live in very luxury conditions. We know that he has palaces, he has yachts, and this hedonism of 9 of Cups, it's definitely his card. Also, I remind you about the spread which I made on 7th of May, and where we looked at his speech. The 9 is kind of the number for Putin. It kind of follows his. All the spreads which I've been making on Putin, they are 9-ish. He is in its different aspects. He is lonely. It's a number of hermit, and this is his card, the hermit, old and getting very tired. But in this case, we can see that the one who is behind is definitely not a military officer. Because for the military officers, we have different cards. How does he declare his aims and his intentions? And here is the 7 of Cups. 7 of Cups is a card of illusions. Here we can concur, here we can conclude very clearly that Putin, if it is Putin, or that one who been commanding the troops during that operation, trying to conceal something, trying to make an illusion of something, just making a circus. It's a hocus pocus situation. It's dreams, it's chimeras, it's unclear plans, but since this is on the position of how it's lends to people, how people receive the information about it, we can say that people are getting illusion of something. So further is actually how does he feel about the situation. And here is the 10 of wands upside down. That is the card of escape. The someone who been commanding would like to escape from that situation. And also we do know about Putin that in the situations of defeat, in the situation of losses, he's always hiding, he's always escaping. It's starting as early as the submarine Kursk, and we can see it now in the all the way in the course of that war, which terrible injustice war which we are observing in Ukraine. And what does he think about the situation? 5 of Pentacles. This is a double card. At the first, of course, it's a lot of it because it's a position of feelings. We can say that it's a self-pityness on the one hand, but on the other hand, it is a card of lying. So he feels that he needs to lie more about what happened. So let's summarize shortly this cross. The first, who is behind actual person, 9 of Cups, not military man, very hedonistic, probably very rich, but also lonely. And how the picture is shown for people, it's a 7 of Cups. It's an illusion. We don't know. We see the illusion, or they're trying to conceal the truth. And the thoughts, it's to run away, and feelings is a 5 of Pentacles, which is lie and self-pittyness. Further, we are looking what bad things that person can bring to everyone in that situation. And here we have justice. And since it is in position of the bad things, we can also look at it as an injustice. So wrong decision making, mistakes and wrong consideration. But since the card is directly, we also can say that these wrong decisions, they're really bad for the Russian troops, but they're also very good for Ukrainian troops. The more mistakes, the more injustice Putin or that general, one of two, is making, the better is for Ukraine. If it's anything good that one could bring, and here we have a temperance, which is a little bit surprising, but we probably could say that the level of the decision making will be scaled down by that person. I very hope so, that it will be less intensity in stupidity, which we observe now. I hope so. If that one can bring the harm, this is both cards which are lying here are responsible for it. If the great harm can be done, and yes, the great harm can be done by that person to everyone, because we can see again, just as in that spread which we made for 9th of May speech. You can watch the video on my channel. We can see that the one is insisting on the what he's doing, thinking this is the right choices. We have a lovers here, the card of choices, and insisting on that I'm doing it right and this is the only correct choice on one hand. And on the other hand, we have a 10 of Cups. And if it's asking if it will be harmful, we can say yes, it will be harmful for many, many, many families. And 10 is a complete number. It's the end of the circle from 1 till 10. So we can say that it's quite a complete harm we are dealing here. Here we can see how the situation will develop. And we have a page of wands upside down. The situation will develop in the following manner. Probably Putin will lose a sparkle inside of him to play the war. Doesn't mean that he will stop it, but his own decisions, they will be not realized till the end. And that's kind of the dynamics of situation will be scaled down on one hand, and what it will end for that person who's staying behind that military operation, behind that defeat. We have a King of Wands, which signifies that that one will still be in power. Looking at that spread, I must say that if behind the planning of that operation would be a professional military, we would have more of swords. We have none here. Swords are responsible for the war and active military actions. And if to talk about the significators of a profession, it's a knight, especially a knight of swords, and the kings, and sometimes pages, who are signifying as a professional militaries. None of them are here. We can't see any professional militaries in this spread who would make the decisions in the case. The second, indeed, is that we have the 7 of Cups, which is in position how they would like to picture the situation, to make it an illusion. Also, the idea of justice and injustice. We have quite a few main arcans here, 3, and it does give some certain power to the spread. I did expect more if it would be Putin behind of it. Like, because why to send people 9 times in attack, in active attack? Ivan Yakovina, he believed that because Russian military officers are so afraid of Putin, so they just repeating and repeating, sending people and sending in attack without reconsideration. They got an order, and then they are following the order. But still we have some power signs, and especially since the one who done it will keep the power. You understand, if you are a military officer and if you are making such a great fail, the great defeat, which is now is one of the biggest defeats of any army since the Second World War, you will lose your job. But that man obviously doesn't. So all in all, I could conclude in accordance with this spread that yes, most probably it was Putin who was behind the thoughts. And let's look at the sources of The Guardian and see if it was actually sources which we can trust, trustworthy sources. We will just make a little triplet. I forgot to tell that the perspective on the future, on development of situation, I took 2 months. And that means that at least in the next 2 months, this king of wands will still keep the power. I didn't look any further after that happening. So, very interesting situation. At the first, we can see that all cards in this spread, they align in the right position. Nothing is upside down. The first question I ask here is who is the source? And we get the Queen of Wands. She's direct, it's a lady. The source of the Guardian is most probably a woman. And she is in the high position, and she is close to General Gerasimov. And he's a ruler, and she's well organized, and she knows what she's doing. She's a professional worker of information and communication. Here is very important to see that of 2 positions, we have 2 wand cups, and the wands are the kind of communication and the sources of information. They're both straight, these cards. And the second position is what kind of information she provided. Here we have an S of wands. Again, I think that it was more information than just about that military operation and about Putin. And I think it's a very fresh, very good source, which will bring a lot of youth for future. And the last one is how the situation will develop. Here is the empires, the third archon. Again, she will grow in her position, in her information, and she will give more of the information, and she will not be discovered. Probably, I'm making the spreads for the future. In a year or 2 or 3, we will find out more, and then it will be fun to come back and look at this video. What is interesting here, it's a quintessence, because the quintessence is 4, which is a card, major archon of the empire. And here we can see that the understream of the situation is a big power motions. I guess that woman, she leaked this information because she is co-working with some high position males. So that was the day's readings, and tomorrow I will release a video about the negotiations, possibilities of negotiations between Russia and Ukraine in the next 2-3 weeks. We'll see there, and please subscribe and order your live consultation with me on my webpage, tarotcoaching.org. Tarot makes our life better.